Indiana. New era, new energy. Already making plans for next season. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Indiana?
Everyone is talking about Caitlin Clark's future after the Indiana Fever made one of the most well-known mistakes in WNBA history. What if one social media post was removed and unintentionally revealed the team's top-secret roster moves for the WNBA expansion draft, leaving fans and analysts baffled?
So, the expansion draft is happening at the start of December, and Stephanie White is the coach of the Fever, and it's going to be interesting to see who they protect.
The stakes are really high. Teams have until November 25th to submit their protected players, and the Fever's error might have revealed their hand to the entire world. This isn't merely a small setback. Rather, it's a revelation that might influence Indiana's approach and the league's destiny for years to come. However, the WNBA isn't the only organization involved. The up-and-coming talent is also influencing the league's direction. Fans have already dubbed Caitlin Clark the next great thing in basketball after her incredible rookie campaign, while Indiana's run for the playoffs has stoked optimism that this ailing team is finally making a comeback.
The future is so bright, and our ultimate goal is to hang another banner in the field house. And our ultimate goal is to come back in here after we win that championship and celebrate again like we did in 2012.
Before we break down the high-stakes implications of this leak for Caitlin Clark, the Fever, and the entire WNBA, please remember to subscribe to the channel. This video will cover everything you need to know about the Golden State Valkyrie expansion draft, including what it means for the players they are allegedly protecting, the Fever, and the contentious debate over whether one controversial name deserves a spot on the list. Hey, let's all hope that this slip-up didn't cost some poor intern their job.
We have a new team, the Golden State Valkyries, that's going to begin and play in 2025. But before that happens, we need to have an expansion draft because they need some players on their roster.
Let's establish the scene. One of the most anticipated off-season events this year is the WNBA expansion draft, which has even more stakes because of one name. This is how it operates: Caitlin Clark. There is a catch. Each organization may safeguard up to 6 players. The Golden State Valkyries, a new team scheduled to make their debut in 2025, will have the opportunity to assemble their roster by choosing players from every other WNBA team, protecting them from being selected by any unprotected player in the draft, even though the Valkyries are only allowed to select one unrestricted free agent overall. The catch is that the protected list is kept under wraps, so only the Valkyries' management and the management of each individual team will be aware of the list they have submitted.
The expansion draft is happening on December the 6th. It's going to be live on ESPN. But before that happens, here's what you need to know.
The deadline for teams to turn in their players who are protected November 25th, and the actual draft for the Fever is scheduled for December 6th. After years of floundering at the bottom of the league, Indiana finally made a breakthrough in 2024 with a winning record and a playoff berth. Now, with new coach Stephanie White leading the team and a youthful, exciting corp led by Caitlin Clark, this deadline signals a turning point. Boston's Aaliyah Lexi Hull and Kelsey Mitchell the Fever have a unique opportunity to safeguard their future. It involves more than simply avoiding errors. It also entails building on momentum. In addition to being historic, Caitlin Clark's first season was transformative. She broke records, attracted large audiences to arenas, and provided Indiana with a real superstar to rally around with Aaliyah Boston, a dominant post player who is already among the best in the league. With the addition of important players like Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull, the Fever have a duo that has the ability to completely reshape the franchise's future.
In women's sports, it's a big opportunity to be a part of this rising tide that we're all experiencing. Everybody in this company's all in. Everybody in this city's all in.
However, because the stakes are so high, sheltering the wrong players could expose Indiana, giving the Valkyries the opportunity to steal important talent or ruin their harmony. The Fever's leaked protected list is making waves because it may have revealed their entire strategy at the worst possible time. This isn't just about one team, it's about the power dynamics of the entire league. Expansion drafts are rare and force every franchisee to make painful decisions. So, how does a single deleted post hold so much power, and what does it say about Indiana's next move? Teams also need to consider free agency and potential trades. Let's examine what transpired and the reasons behind the fans' excitement.
The fact that it was deleted makes me believe they weren't ready for the backlash that transpired from said post. But of course,
the Indiana Fever's social media team shared a graphic on November 24th, just days before the expansion draft protection deadline, showing head coach Stephanie White standing in front of 6 players with the caption, "New era, new energy, already making plans for next season." The post was swiftly removed within an hour, but not before Eagle fans took screenshots and started dissecting every detail of the 6 players in the picture. This was the moment that made the entire WNBA fan base into amateur detectives. Aaliyah, Caitlin Clark, Boston Mitchell, Kelsey Hull, Lexi for those who pay close attention to the WNBA, Nalissa Smith, and Tammy Fagmans-Lay looked a lot like the Fever's protected player list for the expansion draft, which was exactly what ESPN had predicted.
the reason this has become a thing is because the players in front of her, well, there were 6 of them. And the WNBA Draft, the expansion draft coming up, you can protect 6 players from the Golden State Valkyries. Each team, each franchise can. So fans try to put 2 and 2 together, seeing the 6 players that Stephanie White was talking to and thinking those must be the 6 players that the Indiana Fever protected.
Fans immediately flooded social media and forums with theories about whether this was a well-timed promotional message or an unintentional leak. If it was a leak, it may have a significant impact on the Fever's plans. By making their protected players public, Indiana allows rival teams to better understand their priorities. The social media post did more than just raise eyebrows. It sparked a flurry of discussions and conjecture. Some fans even questioned whether the Fever intentionally leaked information to see how the public would react before making decisions. Intentional or not, the post's effects are undeniable. The more important question is what this reveals about the Fever's priorities and whether they are making the right decisions with their rumored protected 6. Let's break it down. If you've watched this far and found the video entertaining, please remember to like, subscribe, and enable all alerts. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, but let's get back to the action.
There's not even one scenario ever out there in all the multiverses where Caitlin Clark wouldn't be on the list. Aaliyah Boston, same thing goes for her. Kelsey Mitchell's going to be a free agent, but we know the Fever really want to bring her back. They've been celebrating her accomplishments in China. They just posted an hour of her highlights online. They can core her if they have her rights and keep her under contract. So it makes sense that they keep that big 3 together.
After seeing the rumored protected player list, let's examine each player individually. These 6 names provide valuable insight into Indiana's goals and future plans. Let's start by discussing the core 4. Caitlin Clark, Boston's Aaliyah Lexi Hull, and Kelsey Mitchell. These are obvious. The team's face and the most marketable player in the NBA at the moment is Caitlin Clark, who just had an incredible Rookie of the Year season. One of the league's top big men and anchors on both ends of the court is Aaliyah Boston, a former first overall choice. The team's offensive flow depends heavily on Kelsey Mitchell, a scoring machine and seasoned veteran, while Lexi Hull complements the stars with tough defense and better shooting.
Obviously, Lexi Hull falls into that group as well. Hull is a glue-type player, plays hard, gets to the loose balls, takes on the tough assignments.
However, there is also Nalissa Smith. Although Smith has talent and promise, her inclusion immediately caused controversy among fans. She is a divisive character due to her inconsistent play on the court, the fallout from the notorious I Pook episode with her partner, and the subsequent TikTok video.
On-court stuff, she's not the best decision maker with the basketball. Motor comes into question at times, not really a shooter. However, there was also the other stuff. She would seem to have an issue with Christy Sides. Doesn't seem to stay away from social media at times. And then the thing with Dejanay Carrington and the Sun and the Fever.
From a strategic standpoint, losing Smith without compensation would be a major setback for Indiana. However, if Indiana can transform her potential into valuable assets, her inclusion on the list could prove to be a masterstroke. Some believe Smith represents unrealized potential, and protecting her is about keeping the Fever's trade options open. Others wonder if her inconsistent performances and off-court distractions are worth the risk.
Maybe Stephanie White sees the talent that Nalissa has, and she clearly has talent, and thinks, I can get the most out of Alyssa. Or maybe the Fever think, hey, we're not going to lose her for nothing. Let's protect her because she does have trade value.
There is no Satu trade with no Alyssa Smith because they really need a power forward. Like, really need a power forward. So they need to, like, if there's no Alyssa trade, there's no Satu. Because, again, if Alyssa is not available for trade, then Satu Sabali is not going to be got because there's no good power forwards in free agency. Satu or Alyssa at least has some potential, but she can come in as a replacement for Satu with the other assets they get, and they at least get something.
According to reports, Tammy Fagan-Lay, a veteran who contributed significantly early in the season before injuries slowed her down, could take 6th place.
Tammy Fagan-Lay is a winning attitude kind of player, plays hard on defense, really ran the floor well on the season, did a nice job converting Caitlin Clark's passes early in the year. Didn't do as well later in the year with that, blew a lot of layups and bunnies, but I think part of that was because she had a hand injury.
Many supporters expected Grace Bear, a younger player with great promise, to make the cut, so her presence raises questions. Although some contend that selecting Tam over Berger could impede the Fever's long-term development because younger players are future building blocks, Tam's versatility and defensive prowess could give her the advantage, particularly in a draft where experience stability is highly sought. The exclusions now, the two most unexpected releases are Grace Berger and Demira Stantis. Despite being underutilized this season, Berger is viewed as a future asset who could take on a larger role as Clark's backup point guard. DTI, on the other hand, is an experienced player who can provide depth and stretch the floor score effectively. Their absence could indicate that Indiana is open to trades or that they're prepared to take a chance on losing these players in order to secure other priorities.
You just never know. You just never, ever know when it comes to the WNBA. Like, nothing will surprise me. But this is a competent franchise. They're going to keep the players that have the most value, whether it be on the court or in the trade room.
Fans are divided. The Fever's emphasis on their talent and possible trade flexibility is praised by some, while some are concerned that this strategy would cost them important players with unrealized potential. The question is whether the Fever struck the correct balance between protecting the present and preparing for the future. This fallout also highlights a broader trend in the WNBA, as teams are growing more smart and covert as the league's level of competition increases. Whether this leak was unintentional or intentional, it has put Indiana at the center of one of the biggest offseason stories. However, what do fans think of these decisions, and how does this affect Indiana's path to contention? Expansion drafts are uncommon, and every decision has ripple effects throughout the league.
Nonetheless, the WNBA now getting some of the vibes that the NBA has gotten in free agency and off seasons in the past, where fans can't stop speculating about every little thing.
More than just igniting fan debates, this leaked list has provided insight into the Fever's priorities and the changing dynamics of the WNBA, whether on purpose or by accident. The social media post has increased pressure on Indiana's front office, forcing them to carefully manage the fallout for the Fever, as their decisions now define their trajectory for years to come. If the rumored list is accurate, it suggests a bold commitment to their young core while keeping trade options open for players like Lisa Smith. But this tactic is a risky move, protecting Smith over promising talents like, however, if the strategy fails to secure key stars like Caitlin Clark-Aaliyah, Grace Bearer runs the danger of offending supporters. If they can continue to have the proper mix of talent and chemistry, Boston Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull give Indiana a chance to develop a contender.
Let's call it a little Fever fun, right? I mean, it's an all-season topic. It's perfect for that. A little bit of Fever fun. We can have that. And shout out to the social team if they're getting in trouble today. No big deal, right?
This incident also reflects a larger change in the WNBA, as clubs are coming under more scrutiny as the league grows and competition heats up. The Golden State Valkyries league debut ushers in a new era in which every roster choice bears increased the stakes. Fans are eagerly awaiting the next move to see if Indiana's rumored protected six materializes, or if the team has any surprises left in store before the draft. Meanwhile, the Valkyries are preparing to make their first moves, and the rest of the league will surely feel the ripple effects. The Fever's apparent misstep serves as a reminder that in this high-stakes environment, even a single deleted post can shift narratives, strategies, and rile up the fan base. There's no denying that the NBA's offseason has never been this intriguing. Tell us in the comments who you believe Indiana should guard and what changes you would make to their position, and be sure to subscribe and enable all alerts so you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next one after you click the video on the screen.